how we can tell if anybody else is there, but please help me if I'm missing something. My name is Lisi Geshite, and I'm the chair. Also sitting is George Alzabak, Jay Jackson, David Collins, Wendy Taylor Humphrey, and our alternate is Ed Schober. Jennifer is unavailable for our meeting tonight. Our stenographer is Marianne Escobar. Our legal counsel is Michael Marcello. And there's somebody in the middle of the room, the square, that I don't recognize. Hi.
Tara. Tara's keeping our minutes.
Oh, okay. Hi, Tara. Nice to see you. And is Joe Kaufman present?
Yes.
Okay. And he's our building official?
Building zoning, yes.
Okay, great. Well, I'll start with the first matter on the agenda, which has been continued a number of occasions, I believe, beginning in September rather than in December. But a petition has been filed for a special use permit, 567 Main Road, for the construction of an ATM at Dollar General, and a variance for 35, that's off. It's simply for the Dollar General. And is there anybody here on behalf of the petitioner?
Lacey?
Yes.
This is a continuation, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And I believe I was not at the first meeting, so I can't sit on this particular matter.
So Ed, you're on deck.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. This matter was heard in part in November, at which time we did take testimony, and an abutter was present who raised an objection, who was represented by counsel, who had not been previously notified when this matter was in front of the planning board. I believe that at that time, the board made some comments suggesting that the request for relief was going to be a hard sell because of objections of the abutter and issues of egress and exit from the parking area. And since that time, at that hearing, rather, I encouraged the parties to try to resolve this by agreement if that were possible. Since then, the matter has been continued a number of times. I think the record should reflect that we received a letter from another abutter, the Ferreras, who were complaining about excess litter, which, although I appreciate it, does not really bear on the issue of whether relief should be granted. We have received a letter from counsel for the petitioner. If I can find it.
Madam Chair, that's my letter. I'm Jay Lynch, representing the applicant.
Oh, I didn't even see you, Mr. Lynch.
They just popped on. Thank you.
Okay. And the letter basically, I'll just read it into the record unless you want to make it orally.
Yeah, I think I can just indicate what the issue that we're facing with is that we've got an use that we have to merge in with the current use at the Dollar General. We're having problems dealing with that other tenant, Citizens Bank is. I don't think that the proposal, the ATM in its present location, is going to work. We are exploring other options on the site to put some type of a kiosk in, not a drive-through. So I'd ask that we continue this one more month to let citizens explore those possibilities to see if they can, build a kiosk rather than a drive-through ATM and find it another area of the subject site.
Well, I mean, I know that the last time we were here, the abutter objected to a continuance. And I believe one of our members, I think it was George Alzabak, objected to a continuance as well.
I have something to say about the whole thing whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I quite frankly don't find good cause in your letter, Mr. Lynch, with all respect. But if you're going to be redesigning a whole project, we cannot dismiss it without prejudice, because under our rules, the hearing has already commenced. But I don't think that you would be prejudiced in any way by devising a new plan and requesting relief. Am I right, Mr. Marcello?
Well, I'm always reluctant to not grant to the petitioner a request for continuance. I mean, it's his petition. And they have a right, and he just indicated on the record that they may be coming back to us with a whole new application. And so if that's the case, we might ask him to refile if it's a whole new application. But at this point, I don't really see the harm of one more continuance. This is the petitioner's form. This is not.
No, I realize that, but it seems like it's going to be a whole new plan that's going to be.
Well, I mean, we don't know that yet. He indicated it may be, but we don't know that yet. So, I mean, so the thing that we would be continuing is the petition, the plan that's on the table now. And then if he was to refile or submit a new plan, that would be his choice. But
Well, I don't know how the board, I mean, this has been on our agenda or our docket since September, and it's March.
I have something to say about this. This last meeting we had, they were the only petitioner on the meeting. We found out they're gonna ask for continuance a half an hour before the meeting. I'm sorry, we all have job to do. We all have life to live. That should not be acceptable that an hour or half an hour before a meeting that a petitioner should, with lawyers and engineer, should not wait an hour to put us in uncomfortable position and cost us money. It cost me money to come to a meeting where they cancel an hour before time. That's unacceptable in my opinion. This has not been handled right. They have plenty of chances. I think we've given them plenty of chances. And I appreciate your opinion, Mike, but there's a time where this is end. It has to end and they have to start over. This is not a family with a garage trying to add. This is lawyers, this is engineers, this is architects. If they don't have their act together after 6 months, time to move on. And I appreciate that, but this cost me money last month. Probably no one cares, but I do.
No, I think you raise a valid point. I mean, we are a volunteer board. No one's getting paid for this. And we try to figure out when we're preparing for our meetings, and to spend hours going over plans that are, that you did several months ago, but forgot about. It is an imposition, and I don't blame you for being annoyed. I'm frankly annoyed. And Mr. Lynch, I don't understand why we had to wait until, the day before the hearing to get your request.
That's when I heard back from my client as to what their plans were. We've been trying to reach out to citizens to get some instruction, some direction from the client. We had a call with them yesterday around 11 o'clock in the morning where they decided to agree to the continuance and consider redesigning their plans.
Well, how did the other members of the board feel about this?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I was under the impression, so this gentleman said that they were going to change it to a kiosk. I thought it was in fact originally a kiosk, not a drive-through.
No, it's a drive. This is a drive-through, drive up to ATM, a drive up ATM.
Okay, that's not. They were using the word kiosk earlier. That's what I thought that they were. That was the original intent. But okay.
I am in a position that they withdraw and they reapply. This would have never given anybody that many chances.
Yeah, I'm with
so much incompetent. It's not even funny.
we need, hold on, before we
Is
begin.
anybody prepared to make a motion?
Lisa, before we do this, we're making a record here, and we just can't have people just shout out on the record. So I'm going to ask that the chair, if you're going to speak, please raise your hand on Zoom so that the chair can recognize you, the court reporter can take it down, and then we can move on. This is going to be very impossible if we have people talking over one another and just chiming in. So I'm going to ask if the zoning board member has a comment to make, please raise your hand in the Zoom. The chair will recognize you, and then we will have an orderly hearing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody want to make a motion at this point or have further discussion on the merits of granting the continuance or not granting the continuance? George, is that your hand?
Yeah. I make a motion not to grant the continuance.
To deny the continuance.
To deny the continuance, right.
Is there a second? Mr. Schober seconded. Any discussion about this further?
Let me raise my hand. So if the continuance is not granted, so we're expecting Mr. Lynch to present his case before us today?
Well, it's certainly his option if he wants to go forward with this petition. I certainly get the impression that he's not prepared to go forward, but maybe I've assumed too much.
Well, and that's correct. And I've told Mr. Chappelle, who's objecting, that we were requesting a continuance on this matter. We weren't aware that there was going to be some hesitancy on the board to grant it. So Mr. Chappelle is not, I don't believe he's present on the Zoom. So I think it would be prejudicial if I try to proceed tonight, with Mr. Chappelle's absence.
Okay.
What I'd propose to the board, if it's reasonable, if you want to give us one more continuance, and if we're not prepared to proceed at the next meeting, we will withdraw this application at that point and then refile a new petition.
Quite frankly, I don't see the difference between having it go now or denying your continuance. I believe you're legally entitled to refile with a different plan. The denial does not prejudice you in any way. Mike, if you're around, you've disappeared. Oh, you moved over there.
Well, I mean, here's my
Am I
concern.
incorrect in that?
Well, here's my concern. Mr. Lynch has just indicated that one of the objectors, was believing that we were going to get a continuance tonight is not here. So we're going to either force Mr. Lynch to go, hold on, we're either going to force Mr. Lynch to go forward, knowing that there's an objector on the record and the objector's not going to be able to present their evidence against him, or he's going to withdraw his application. So, I mean, this is, to me, granting a continuance for 1 month with the understanding that this will be the last continuance granted by this board. He is on notice on that. We can give notice to the abutter, to any objectors that's the case. There's due process rights here that we got to be very careful on. And I'm sorry that some of the boards are inconvenienced, but that's the nature of serving on a zoning board. So,
Mr. Marcello, I think that if the abutter is not here, that's a choice that he made. It's not like he was precluded from being heard.
Well, I'm just suggesting that according to what Mr. Lynch just said on the record, that he let the abutter know that he was asking for a continuance and that he didn't expect any issue with a continuance being granted.
Not a problem.
George,
Well, George, it is our problem when we have to review in court looking at it, whether we've met the standards. So it does become a problem.
No, can I talk? The gentleman made a deal with someone who we have no idea they're making the deal in the background. It's not our problem that they made a deal and told them not to come in. That's not something excuse me. He needed to come in front of us, both of them, see if we're going to extend it or not. Not just one of them and expect us to accept it. That's really the problem has been all along, that we are getting led by them. Not we are being respected as a board. And I'm sorry, Mike, we have a motion on the floor. You already expressed 5 votes need to be taken. We need to take a vote.
okay. All those in favor of denying the request for a continuance?
We have to do a roll call, please.
George,
Oh, I thought we could
Against.
just vote. Okay, go
No,
ahead.
when you're on Zoom, you have to do a roll call.
All right. Mr. Collins.
I don't think I can vote on this, can I?
Oh,
No.
I beg your pardon. Okay. Ed, you've already indicated your assent to
Yep.
the denial.
Yes.
Jay?
I'm against the denial.
Okay. Wendy?
Also against the denial.
Okay. So it's a pretty close call. I'm frankly against granting another continuance. So that it is what it is. I 3-2 in favor of denying the continuance. Is that fair to say?
That's the vote.
That's the vote. All right, Mr. Lynch, again, I don't think that your interests are prejudiced, and given
If
the
that's-
state of
if-
the record, yeah, go ahead.
If that's the board's pleasure, at this point, we'll just withdraw the application.
Well, you can't withdraw it without prejudice because
I think, I think we can. We haven't finished the application yet.
no,
Testimony
under our
hasn't been
rules,
submitted.
under our rules, once if you look at our rules of procedure, once the hearing is started, you cannot withdraw it without prejudice. But if you're going to present a completely different plan, I don't think that precludes you from filing a new application. Mike, do you disagree with that?
He's certainly not precluded from putting a new application.
No. And that's fine, because we are not prepared to proceed this evening.
I
So,
understand. Okay, well, petition's denied with prejudice on this application. All right. Moving on to the next matter on our agenda. There's one for a dimensional variance. A petition's been filed by John and Linnea Wolfe, 116 Lawton Avenue, Tiverton, in a R40 zone. A dimensional variance is being requested for the relief of 20 feet from the side setback of the required 25 feet. The proposed structure, which is a attached 2-car tandem garage, will be 5 feet from the side setback. Is there someone representing here on behalf of the petitioner?
Yes, Patrick Connors.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
yes. And are you an attorney?
I'm an architect. I'm
Okay.
the applicant's architect.
Okay. Are your clients present as well?
I believe they are. They're John and Linnea Wolfe, and I have a coworker who should be attending. Her name is Yamile Delisi. If you could promote her and them.
Okay. And your clients are requesting that you represent their interests and authorize.
Yes, we've talked about that previously, but is that you, Linnea?
Yeah, we keep going in and out, but yeah, we're here.
Okay.
Okay. Why don't you tell us what you're proposing? Oh, before that, we want to put people under oath.
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, can you swear the,
Sure. Can you raise your hand? Whoever's going to be speaking in this matter, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, why don't you tell us why you're here and what relief you're requesting?
Yeah, is it possible to bring up our site plan, the proposed? There's a survey that we submitted, but also there's a proposed site plan that will illustrate the application.
Well, I think we all have it. I don't know how
Okay.
to.
yeah, I think
Okay.
we might be able to do that. Hold on. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you.
Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay.
So these are actually the town hall's neighbors right here on 116 Lawton Ave around the corner. The applicant just purchased this house last August. They're pretty happy with it. They're making it their home. Whoever needed a few fine tuning elements, primarily a garage. This house, it's a wood frame 2-story that does not have a garage. So what you're seeing here is our architectural site plan. There's a shaded portion that represents our project. This is actually the lower level. The western edge of the property line that you can see that's got a darker hatch to it. That is a portion of the project that's going to need relief. So there's a survey for this property. The right corner of the original basement is 20 feet from the original property line. The back corner is about 20 feet too. So there's, yeah, well, you can keep the cursor alone. I'll just describe it. So this property is unique because there's a cross slope that's about 2 feet that starts from the northeast corner that goes down to the southwest corner. The driveway comes in at the lowest level, at the basement level, to access this house. So the plan that you're looking at right now is considered what I'd call a walkout that faces the property line. You have to walk up a full story, up the retaining wall steps, a half flight, and then you come up on the front porch. So you can see the front of the house is occupying most of the right up to the front yard setback. On the eastern side of the property, which is the top of the drawing, our drawing doesn't show it, but there's a septic tank and a leaching field. So our design problem, since the owners don't have a garage, was where to fit this. We couldn't put it on the eastern side because there's the leaching field. The front of the house is already occupied up to the setback, so we wouldn't want to be proposing a garage in the front yard. So that left us with the western side, where we're showing a tandem 2-car garage. And right now that's a paved driveway in that location. So it's being used for car storage. The shaded area that reaches around behind the back of the house is, it's a basement that will have an exercise room, but up above that is a 3-season room. That's entirely behind the setback. It's combined with this project, but doesn't require any aspect of the relief. So we've got well, if you're controlling this, if you can go to the next drawing, we've got a blow up of this garage plan. You could zoom in a little bit for the board. So I was trying to describe that lower southwest corner that's about 20 feet from the property line. This is R40, and I know typical R40 is a 25-foot side yard setback, but we have a substandard lot that's 60% of the required lot size. So we're actually have a 10-foot setback on the side yard here. That's proportionate to the 60% of the lot coverage. We have that calculation at the front of on the other drawing. So we're hoping to build 5 feet away from the property line. Therefore, we'd be needing 5 feet of relief. So on this face that's facing the street, there's a 15-foot dimension of the length of the garage. That's what we're building it from the original basement. There's a retaining wall that's just to the south of that we're needing to get the garage door pulled to the west to get around it. That's the requirement for that 15-foot dimension. And we'd like to be able to house two cars. So it's a tandem garage design. And at the back of the garage is a wooden set of steps leading up to their backyard. There's an original wood set of steps that the back half of the garage will be displacing. So that's the geometry of our garage based on the distance from the house to the original property line. If you can move over to the next drawing, we've got a front elevation that's facing the street. The bottom drawing is a partial of the front elevation showing you the before condition. And the top drawing is what we're proposing. It's a little misleading because it's a flat drawing, but the garage is just a 1-story with a small 6-pitch roof above it. In the distance, what you're seeing is kind of towards the back of the yard where the 3-season room is. You're seeing the side elevation. So it's a little misleading that the garage is in the foreground. So it's a 1.5-story, well, barely a 1.5-story structure that's in the foreground. A little bit above that is a railing detail. If you can thanks, Yamala, just circle that. If you can shift to the next elevation. So this is the western side facing the neighbor. The lower drawing is the original condition and the above drawing is the proposed. So that's the length of the tandem garage along the property line side. There's a little faux railing, we're using it as a device for aesthetics. If you can see for the start of the garage at the front, there's a little roof line, that's the pitched roof for about 8 feet. And then we stop the pitched roof and introduce that railing so that the living room windows on the first floor level, which is the story above, can maintain their view and exposure. And then a little bit to the left of that what's above that is the portion of the 3-season room that's behind the setback line. You can go to the next drawing, Yamala. So this is the before and after rear elevation. So on the upper drawing that's a proposed condition, that little dimension 5-foot section. That's the portion that will be beyond our setback and adjacent to the property line. So that's the portion that needs relief. So that's primarily the design for our request. If you have any questions about what the design or what the application entails, I'd be happy to answer those now. Otherwise, I was going to try to address the standards for Article 17, Section 2.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
As it is now, the house is encroaching on the side setback. Is that correct?
Sorry, ask that again.
the house as it stands now, is it already encroaching on the side setback?
No.
No.
Yeah, like,
Okay.
can you go back to the site plan?
Yes.
So in this drawing, the shaded portion is the proposed project. The
Yep.
darker diagonal hatch is a proposed portion of the project that goes past the setback.
Okay.
Everything that's not shaded is existing structure. So other than the retaining wall, none of the structures are in the setbacks.
So how much, if we grant the request, what's the difference? How much space is there between the garage and the side setback? 5
And
feet?
it would be 5 feet.
And how close is that to the I mean, I'm asking these questions for potential fire truck access if there was a problem in the back. How are they going to get into the backyard?
I think they basically come up on the eastern side of the property. The Lawton Ave goes up a hill and the grade keeps climbing of the yard with the street. So they'd have that whole eastern side of the house to access the backyard.
How is the neighbor's home within their side setback?
It appears to be that they're a larger lot, so that the side setback's 25 feet. It looks like it's a house that's less than 30 years old, so I would imagine it's got plenty of room. And it's got, John and Linnea, I know you guys are looking out that window. I think it's quite a distance, at least 25 feet, which would be the base the side yard setback.
I mean, is there a way that fire engines can get back there on the
Yes.
neighbor's property?
Yeah,
If there's ever a fire? I'm concerned about the safety aspects of this.
Yeah, the neighbor's yard, their garage, the first thing that's basically on the western side, they're adjacent to us. It's their garage, but the garage doesn't butt up against the property line as far as I can tell. There's a, strip of land between, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But there is a strip of land between the property line and where the garage starts.
And is that unimpeded? I mean, are there trees there?
No, it's lawn. It's open land. The trees and the growth is sort of like right along the property line.
Okay. Is there?
Excuse me, can I just ask who, I don't know who's speaking right now. Could you?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, that was John Wolfe. I'm one of the owners of subject property.
Thank you.
Are you planning on putting any, I mean, is there going to be a second story or a half story contemplated in the garage that could possibly be used for habitation?
No.
no.
Okay. No, there's not going to be any, do you need like water hookup there? Or heat?
Oh, for heat? No, it's just gonna be a garage.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes, George, go ahead.
Looking at this drawing, and you kept saying that the 3-season room is not required for any relief. Can you build that 3-season room without the garage being there?
You could, if I understand your question, the western face of the 3-season room is behind the setback. So we could put a beam or put, if the garage, it wouldn't be functional, but the 3-season room is on the upper level, on the same level, the main level of the house. We'd be supporting it through the same foundation of the garage. If the garage couldn't happen, the 3-season room could happen independent of the garage, of a design garage. So
that's my question.
Okay.
So if you didn't get a relief for the garage, you could still build the 3-season room. That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any member of the
Question?
board have any questions?
Dave has a question.
Go ahead, Dave.
Tell me about this existing asphalt driveway on the south end. Does that go, coming, well, it comes in off, obviously off the street, but does it go in the direction of the arrows?
Yeah, so Yamal, if you can start at the street. There's a retaining wall on the upper right side of the driveway. All that is the same level, more or less, as the street. So it's probably a 4 foot to 5 foot high retaining wall. But that whole area is paved, and the original driveway continues underneath the proposed garage.
All right, so the existing asphalt driveway goes underneath, it's there now, where you,
Yeah.
it's where you plan to put the garage.
Right.
Yeah, so there's, Yamal, if you can show the line of the driveway at the beginning of closer to the street, that's the line of the pavement. So keep following that towards the garage. It's a little closer to the property line, but
I can zoom in. And
yeah,
you
I
can
think
see.
that points it out, Yamal. So
Mhm.
I have a question on that same, David, follow up to David when you're ready.
One final question. If you are denied this request and you're not able to build a garage for your cars, is that going to be a major hardship?
speaking for the client, my discussions with them, considering the last few months that we came out of, bringing groceries in, getting your car, breaking ice off of it and snow and clearing driveway, it's more than an inconvenience. It's a hardship. So
It's it's where we're gonna retire, so it certainly would be better if we didn't have to deal with ice coming in and out of the house. But I mean, hardship is kind of hard. It's not life or death, so hardship is kind of a hard thing to judge.
Yeah,
But it is
Very much
beyond
like
a
the
mere
back garage.
inconvenience.
Wait, okay. Let's, one at a time. Dave, I think you had the floor.
Well, I was just commenting that the hardship only has to be beyond a mere inconvenience. And do you think it is beyond a mere inconvenience?
yes.
Okay.
All right, I have a follow-up question for David.
I'm
When I went and looked at that property, sir,
I don't think David was done.
yeah, but I'm following up on the same.
Well, but David had the floor, George.
well, yeah, I don't
That he was done.
have any more questions. Do you have a question for me? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
no, I'm just saying I'm following up with the same line of questioning.
Okay.
When I looked at the house today, is the driveway go all the way as far as if you're pointing it out, the asphalt, or does it just stop way before that three-season room, like stops? I don't think
I
the
believe-
driveway goes all the way in, does it?
I think it goes close to where the set of steps are.
Just before those steps.
You see where the
Does it go
dash
to-
steps are,
Yeah,
George?
yeah. I
Those
see
are
it
where
now.
the original wood steps that we'd be displacing. So
So the driveway went all the way that far?
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't walk it, I just parked on the street. Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ed.
What's been the response of the neighbors on all four sides?
Well,
I don't-
we'll
I
hear
don't
from them, Ed. They've been notified within 200 feet, so if they're here to testify, they're allowed to do so once we get through with the presentation. So if they have an objection or for or against, we'll hear that.
Thanks. Okay.
Any other questions? Is there any member of the public out there that has any questions?
I think, sorry, Lisi, I think Mr. Connors wanted to go through the standards before he closes his case. And then we
Yes.
should open up to the public.
Okay,
Can I ask one more question? I'm sorry, can I ask one more question or it's too late?
yes.
This is for the architect. Can you put that picture with the neighbors looking at the wall at the garage itself?
yeah. Yeah, well, if you can show the west elevation.
Yes, I'm looking for it. 1 second, please.
Can't you just keep pressing your arrow on the,
Oh, you're saying the elevation. I'm sorry. I was looking at the picture.
Yeah,
one more?
Correct. This one.
Right there, right? So the neighbor is gonna be looking at that wall, right?
yes.
Yes, the upper drawing represents the side of the tandem garage. So everything that's below that railing is what's 5 feet from the property line. the 3 Caesar room setback, it's behind the setback, so.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
I believe there's brush along
That's
the
that's
edge.
what-
There is.
Okay. And I think the neighbors got their garage end face of the house, so I don't think there's any windows facing this garage.
Okay, thank you.
Ed, do you have another question?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kaufman, do you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure I understood something. When you went through this slide here, it said those were faux railings, but I believe there's a deck up there. Is there not?
No, it's intended as a low slope roof. The railings are decorative in terms of looking out the living room window, and there's no access to it. But we didn't want to be showing the owners sitting there in their living room looking out at a flat surface. It's a little more palatable to have it appear like a balcony.
That's all I was trying to make sure I understood. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, Mr. Connor, go ahead and address the standards, if you will.
Yeah, so I know from Article 17, Section 2, in Item 1, given the slope of the site, the position of the existing driveway, the existing position of the septic system presents a hardship for constructing a garage any other place but this location on this site. So the need for the relief is not due to any economic disability of the applicant. Relief for this proposed garage is not contrary to the public interest. The surrounding homes are, with the exception of one, are all afforded 2-car uses, 1 car or 1.5 car. I believe with the exception of one of the abutters, everyone else is using a garage. So some of them, particularly along Reed Street, are all positioned in similar distances to the property line. So the enforcement of the provision of the ordinance would result in a hardship if we're not granted the 5 foot of relief. Obviously, with the type of the weather in the last previous months that we've been having, it's more than a mere inconvenience. Since the owners have purchased the home in just the last year, the hardship is not due to any prior action of the applicant. Their hardship, again, is not due to monetary gain or loss. The granting of the requested variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan for which the ordinance is based on, since the ordinance permits construction of as close as 5 feet to a side yard for substandard lots of record. There are several, as I said, there are several instances of garages along Reed Street, which is abutting the neighbors, which are in the same district and are afforded that same separation, or that same distance due to their non-conforming lot size. The request of relief will afford the owners a minimal size garage designed to the least relief necessary based on the configuration of this property. Granting of this variance will provide John Linnea a core use and function for their family, where there is no reasonable alternative available on the lot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any member of the public out there that wants to ask any questions? Apparently not.
Well, hold on, let's give them instructions. So if you're here to speak in favor of the application or against the application, please raise your hand in Zoom. If you want to call in and you're not on Zoom, the number to call is 1-877-853-5247. The passcode, the meeting number is 823-5367-5870 with a passcode of 654523. Also was posted on the agenda if you have the agenda in front of you. So we'll give them a few minutes. Please see to call in or chime in if they want to, please.
I can say that there haven't been any written objections received by the zoning office, so.
Okay, last call, please see anybody.
In the meantime, can I please get the name of the other representative for the applicant?
Oh, Linnea Wolfe, Linnea Wolfe. Wolfe.
Thank you. I have the owners and Patrick Connors as the architect. I have one other person. Could I please have their name?
Yes, it's Yamile Delisi, Yamile, and the last name Delisi.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, anything else before we go into our deliberations? Seeing no hands, hearing nothing. How do the members of the board feel about this?
Can I ask a question?
Lisa, can you close the public hearing, Lisa, before you go into the deliberations, please?
Yeah, I thought I did that.
No, you didn't say it. You got to say it.
Oh, okay. The hearing's now closed and we're about to, George, you had a question?
Can we remove the plan off the screen and all that? Sure.
Okay, all right. The meeting's now closed. We will no longer entertain any testimony or public comment, and we will begin our deliberations. How do members of the board feel about this application?
Can I start?
Sure.
I drove to the site, and I honestly, when I first started and looked at it, I had a lot of problem with the project, but after listening to the architect and seeing literally no other option, I mean, it's home, it's a retirement home. I don't see any objection from the neighbors. I had a problem in the beginning with it, but right now I think it's makes it if you're gonna live in a house and get old in a house, you want to be able to get in and out without getting iced on, cold, be able to park your car and appreciate having easy living as you go on. So I'm fine with it.
Dave?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some existing conditions, including the leaching field and the fact that there's already an asphalt driveway leading to the area that contribute to a hardship beyond a mere inconvenience. To require them to dig up the existing driveway and move it somewhere else, assuming it could be moved somewhere else, is probably beyond a mere inconvenience. And I think that we've over the years decided that a garage pretty much not having a garage is pretty much of a hardship beyond a mere inconvenience. So I'm okay with this.
Wendy?
I have to agree with George. I think in the beginning, at first glance, just looking over the petition before the meeting, I was hesitant, but I think the architect gave a very good presentation. I think he touched on all of the important aspects of why this should be granted, including the slope, where the septic is, how that makes it difficult. Mentioning the fact that all of the other houses similar in the area do have garages. I feel like they did a good job putting together a minimal size garage. Doing a tandem garage was insightful. And I think the architectural design in and of itself is actually nicer than a lot of the designs we've seen come before us before. So I appreciate the attention to detail that they put into that. And I would not have an objection to this.
Jay? Jay?
Yeah, I'm here.
How you feeling on this?
Yeah, I don't have any objections to this.
Okay. Ed, I know you certainly are entitled to be heard. You don't get to vote on this one. But do you have any contrary thoughts?
No, I agree with Wendy. I'm fine with it.
Okay, I agree with everything that everyone has said. I think that the configuration of the lot, that it's pretty much the smallest lot on the block, that there's not going to be any increase of the impervious surface that's going to invalidate our granting relief. The location of the septic system and the leaching field makes it impossible to put it anywhere else. And I'm satisfied that in the event of an emergency, there is a way to get to the backyard, either by going up the street and down into the area or going through the neighbor's yard to get to the back, dissipates any concern I have for the public safety. So I think we're all in agreement on this. So whoever would like to, if we're ready, we can make a motion and take it from there.
Go, Dave.
There he goes.
You want me to do it, huh? My problem is I don't have the requirements in front of me, but I'll make a motion that we grant the petition on the grounds that there are specific conditions and circumstances that do exist, including the septic system and existing driveway that make this the hardship. And it is definitely not contrary to the public interest. We've seen that we are convinced that the safety, fire safety requirements are met. I think it is compliant with the comprehensive community plan. And there were several other requirements that were identified by the petitioner that we probably should include, but I don't have them in front of me. If anybody'd like to add those, that would be fine. And that's it.
The only thing I would add is that it is the least relief necessary, which we're required to find, and that this is required not for any economic profit, and it's through no fault of the applicant that this relief is being sought.
I second the motion.
I think that's all of it.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Roll call, please. Roll call.
Myself, Lisa Gescheit, say yes. George?
Say yes.
Jay?
Yes,
Dave?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. Your application is granted, and I want to thank the architect for doing a very excellent, informative presentation.
Oh, appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
So just so the applicants know, the decision has to be written and recorded. The appeal period runs from 30 days from the recording, so you won't be able to get a building permit until that period ends.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, the next matter we have is a request for a dimensional variance that's been filed by a petition that's been filed by Richard Westlake, 509 Nanaquaket Road Rear, Tiverton, Plat 403, Lot 127, in an R80 zone. The dimensional variance is being requested for relief of 30 feet from the front yard setback of the required 50 feet. A proposed structure, a 3-car garage, will be 20 feet from the front setback. Is Mr. Westlake here?
Ask question.
Or someone from his representing Mr. Westlake? If you
There's
could raise
someone
that hand.
on behalf of Mr.
Oh,
Westlake.
I'm here. I apologize. I'm new to Zoom. Can you hear me? I see a little block on the screen with my name. I do have a camera. If you'd like, I could take a minute to try to get that on. Let's see. I think I was asking you to start your video, start my video. There I am. I'm a novice.
Okay, Mr. Westlake, I have to tell you that your application was put on the docket tonight in error because it's incomplete in that we did not have a site plan. And I realize that you requested that we waive the site plan in your case. We don't have the authority to do that. And even if we did, given the configuration of the property and my personal inspection of it with our town solicitor, it's not clear what you want or where you want to put this garage. So we do need an on-site plan. As
Do you not
required
get the
by our
package?
rules.
Do you
I
not
got
have
your
the
package.
package that I submitted?
Yes, I do. We have this,
Oh.
there's no, we don't have a surveyor's map, that a site plan. We have a rough drawing, and that's not good enough for us to make this
Okay.
decision. Okay?
Yeah, my understanding was that for simple processes, that could be waived, and it's a level piece of land and a very simple situation, other than the fact that my front yard is about 400 feet from the road and is actually the backyard of other homes.
Well, that's
So-
why we need the site plan. I went out there and I couldn't make heads or tails out of what you wanted to do. And given the proximity of what you want to do to your neighbor's yard, we do need a site plan, and the board does not have the authority to waive that requirement under our rules.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're going to need you to do that. How much time do you need to get that?
Well,
We'll give you
you know,
continuous whenever you want.
I'm not an architect nor a surveyor nor a lawyer, so I don't know what's required to get that done. I honestly, I thought what I submitted was perfectly adequate. I did read somewhere that that those standards could be waived. I did my best to comply. I thought it was fairly evident, especially for someone who was standing on the property, to see where I wanted to build. I'm sorry it wasn't more clear.
I guess
So I
I'm
don't
just
know.
stupid.
No. I'm not trying to imply that.
We need the site plan. So if you need a month or 2 months, whatever you want, we'll grant you.
Well, I did listen in on the other parts of the agenda, and if I were to ask for 1 month but could not get it done in 1 month, would that be a problem, or?
No, I don't think it will be if you let us know well in advance that you need more time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
just don't call us on the day before the hearing and say it's not going to happen.
No, I understand. I wish someone had told me of that requirement, because I've waited 6 weeks.
Well,
for
I know
this
that, and
night.
I apologize. We have new staff in our office, and they're learning the ropes and they're doing the best they can. But we need it's right in the application. We need a site plan that's either signed by an architect or an engineer in order to proceed.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm sorry to inconvenience you, but
No, that's all right. I just wish I knew, because I could have been working on it.
okay.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate
No
it.
problem.
I hope
So we're going to
hope-
continue this to our April meeting, and do we have a date for that?
I think it's April, hold on. I believe it's April 6th,
Okay.
Wednesday, April 6th.
Okay, the matter's
But that-
continued to April
Yeah.
6th, and if for any reason you're not able to engage the surveyor or whoever you want, or you can't get it done by then, please just let us know as soon as you
Okay.
can.
Okay.
Can
All
we,
right.
Very good.
can we take a vote to continue it, please? A formal vote, please?
Okay, although I make a motion to continue the matter for a month. Is anyone prepared to second it?
the motion.
To
Okay.
April 6th, to the date starting of April 6th.
Okay, all those in favor? Roll call.
Aye.
Lisi, Dave Collins,
Yes.
George, Jay,
Yes,
Wendy?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Sorry, Mr.
Thank you
West.
for your time.
Month. Okay. The next matter on our agenda, if I can find the agenda. Give me 1 second.
2D.
The next matter is the request for special use variance. Here we go. Filed by Bally's Tiverton Casino and Hotel, 777 Tiverton Casino Boulevard, Tiverton, Plat 203, Lot 111, and HC zone, seeking a special use permit related to enlargement, modifications, and new additional signage at the property. Mr. Russo, are you here?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chair.
And is there anyone else that's here on your behalf or on behalf of your application?
Yes, there would be Kim Ward. She is the Regional Executive Director of Public and Community Affairs at Bally's. She should be out there somewhere. And Matthew Pimentel from my office, if he could be let in.
I don't know how to do that. Are you here?
We did. We're all set.
We're all set. Okay. Mr. Russo, if you just want to give us your opening statement explaining why you're here, and after that, we'll swear in whoever is going to be giving testimony.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, members of the board, my name is Mark Russo. I represent Twin River Tiverton LLC, and they do business as Bally's Tiverton Casino and Hotel. As the chair indicated, this is an application under Section 11 of the signage regulations because we're seeking to exceed the dimensional restrictions on 3 signs. And in order to do that, under Article 16 of your zoning ordinance, which is the special use permit, they actually have a specific section on special use permits for exceeding signage dimension. And we have to establish that the non-conforming sign by size will result in a clear visual improvement. And as I said, this involves 3 signs. If you go into the property from the roundabout, there are 2 arched stone walls on either side of the roundabout, and you'll notice there are 2 low-profile signs. They are 3 feet high by 16 feet wide. They are dark in color, kind of between a bronze and a black with gold lettering. And those 2 signs we would like to replace. And the replacements that have been designed by our signage contractor would have a larger sign. It would be 8 feet by 18 feet, 4 inches. And the signage face would be 6 feet by 16. So in essence, what it does is it doubles the height of the signage face. And it would say Bally's Casino Hotel in red lettering, which is just a much more easily visible from the roundabout. Then as you proceed up the entrance to the property, I think everyone knows there's a parking deck behind the casino. And just as you approach that parking deck, again, the proposal would be to replace that 3 foot by 16 foot sign with one of the same dimension at the entry, 8 foot by 18 feet, 4 inches. Again, the signage face would be 6 by 16. And a very similar sign, as you can see from our package. And Michael, at the appropriate time, if we're allowed to share documents, if the members want.
Yeah, why don't you do that, Mark, now if you want to. I think they have a better understanding if they look at it. Can you share? I think you should be able to. Yeah.
Matt, would you mind putting the overlay document on so we can just show the members of the board the locations of the signs?
Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Thanks,
Okay.
Matt. So
No
members of the board, if you look at the rotary on the right-hand side of that overlay, there's sign MN 1.1 and MN 1.2. And those are the locations of the 2 entry signs that we're talking about. And then if we can just scroll over to MN1 up on the right near the parking garage. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's MN2. It's just as you get to the top and you're going to take that left-hand turn to go to the parking deck, you can see that MN2, and that's where that 3rd sign is. And then Matt, if we could go to show the board the existing sign versus, and if you'll probably want to pinch that and enlarge it a little bit. And I think this is pretty much self-explanatory. If you look at the existing 3 by 16 foot sign with the darker background in the gold lettering, and then Matt, if you just scroll over to show the proposed, it is a larger signage face, And then the way the contrast in the colors is much more visible from the roundabout. And that's why we think we meet the establishment of a sign that's going to result in a clear visual improvement. And then Matt, if you can just go to the one where we can show the board, the one up at the, yes. So right as you turn into the parking deck, there is an arched stone wall, 2-level arched stone wall. And just at the top of it, you see again, that same 3-foot by 16-foot sign with the very dark background and what was at one time gold lettering. They're a little faded, I think. And then Matt, if you just scroll over to the left, you can see what's being proposed. Again, it's the same exact concept as the entry. It's a larger sign face. So I have.
Mr. Russo, can I just ask one question?
Yes, certainly.
Are all three of these signs, both the two that are in front of the entry and this one, are they all the same size?
Yes, they are. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Exactly. And Chair, the reason why, just to let the board know, the reason why we're asking for the special use permit is we have, in addition to the highway commercial zone where this property is located, we also have an overlay ordinance. And the overlay ordinance provided, because the design at that time was for a 3 by 16 foot, that those entrance signs and that monument style sign up near the parking garage would not exceed 48 square feet. That's when we designed it. Things have changed, and I think the members can see the visual improvement, and that's why we're asking for the special use permit. And if I could ask, with the chair's permission, to swear in Kim Ward, I'll just ask her a couple of very brief questions, and then we'll be done. Kim, are you out there?
I am here.
Okay. Michael,
Marianne, Marianne, can you swear the witness, please? You're on mute, Marianne, sorry.
Okay, I forgot I was on mute. Hello, how are you? Can you raise your right hand? You swear the testimony about to give this matter but the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So I hope you got.
Yes, I do.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, Ms. Ward. I've never asked you questions on Zoom, so this is a first.
Right.
Could you just tell the board your position at Bally's, please?
Yes, I'm the Regional Executive Director of Public and Community Affairs.
Okay. And you're familiar with the process that the company went through to undertake a signage rebranding at the Tiverton location?
Yes, I've been in the community since 2015, even before we had all the election going on. But yes, I was in the whole process.
Okay. And can you just briefly explain the need to do the rebranding for the signage?
Sure. In about November timeframe, the company brought the namesake of Bally's. Forgive me if my voice cracks, I'm getting a cold. So we had bought over the namesake of Bally's, and we are rebranding all of our 16 properties with that name. It is still the same ownership that was previous, but we would like to change the names on all our signage.
And Kim, did the company engage a signage company to determine what signs had to be changed in order to result in a clear visual improvement?
Yes, there's a company named Yesco that's a national company that will be doing our signage for all properties, but they've subdivided that to a company in Connecticut.
Okay. And after the design process, was it determined that these 3 signs, the 2 entry signs and the 1 at the parking deck, would result in a clear visual improvement?
Yes.
Okay. And is that why you're seeking this special use permit?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ward. I don't have any further questions. And Chair, that would be the extent of our presentation, but obviously we'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
I have a question.
Yes, George.
Just clarification of it. So these big signs you're proposing, they're all internally lit, individual?
Yeah, they're
letter
channel
lit?
lettering.
Okay, that's simple. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. The previous signs were not, so that's why they were so dark.
And what is the, can I continue? Ask one more question? Why are we not doing sign with the light, external lights, like with light directed at them rather than being dark like the other one, we think?
That is just what the sign company designed, and that's what they're doing at all the properties.
And one more question.
Yes.
Do we honestly think people don't know where the casino is. Do we need these big letters lit up internally, lit up to find where the casino in Tiverton?
Well, it is dark at night, but I understand your point, but that is what is designed from the sign company.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What is the square footage of these signs as you?
Yes, the new square footage, Chair, would be 146 square feet per sign. The sign face itself would be 96 square feet. So a good percentage of the square footage is the background, but under your ordinance, you've got to count the entire sign. So it would be 146 square feet versus existing 48.
Okay.
And if I may just add to Kim's response to the board member's question, because it's a good question. There are some new patrons that will come in off that roundabout, and there is sometimes some confusion as to exactly where to exit the roundabout. So that's one of the things the signage professionals took into account.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the criteria that was for the casino overlay district was that the entry signage should be considered a low profile design as set forth in the Tiverton casino program, which of course I couldn't find. But I mean, certainly the one you have now is low profile, and the one you're proposing is, I wouldn't call low profile. And I think doubling this, I mean, I can really appreciate why you want the additional signage, but, and I think, obviously you want your customers to know where you are and how to get it. But I have some concerns that the large red sign is somewhat distracting to someone who's driving around the Rotary. I mean, we've had people, in Tiverton that continue to drive through the Rotary without a sign being distracting.
No, I think I can answer that question, Chair. I was involved in drafting the casino gaming overlay along with the town solicitors, and there were two aspects to the signage at the entry: one, that they be low profile, and two, that they be a certain limit to square footage. And the low profile aspect is that they don't exceed 10 feet in height. And we have not exceeded that. We've kept it to 8 feet. So I believe we've met the low profile, but the square footage has been exceeded. And that's, so I understand what you're saying, but I think we've tried to stay within the spirit of that low profile requirement. It's not, the idea behind that at the time it was drafted is folks didn't want something that was Las Vegas in style, that, you'd have this blaring sign, neon lit. So there was restrictions, backlighting, but I think we have met that, although it is larger than the 48 square feet. Where that came from, quite frankly, is we just gave the planning board our signage design, and we customized the zoning overlay to meet our signage design at the time. And as time passes and you deal with more professionals, they come up with better ways to do it. And that's where we are.
Right. I mean, so you're suggesting that low profile is referring to a 10 feet height as opposed to low profile versus not meaning like gaudy?
Yeah, they wanted it low profile and height. Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. Yes, George.
You keep saying, and I appreciate you just pointed it out, actually, what I was going to say. This is absolutely what Las Vegas style sign is what you're exactly asking. And I appreciate you saying that it's still low profile, but there's absolutely no question about it. I only live and work down the street from the casino. This is driving through that rotary at night, and you're looking at two red signs. Literally, it is as gaudy in Las Vegas style is what you're exactly asking. And I find that not fitting Tiverton at all.
I have another question. Mr. Russo, what is the setback from the road to the sign?
It'd be the same as is existing. I don't know that. There's a site plan with the application, Chair, but I don't know the measurements.
Okay. Fair enough.
I interject, sorry.
Who's speaking?
I have two things to say.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it set back a good 20, 30 feet. And when we did say not Las Vegas, that was a digital sign that we agreed to not do in the first place. So this is nothing digital. This is a channel cut lettering with a brown background with red channel letters. We tried to have the brown background just so it would blend into the woods. And if we wanted to go Las Vegas, it would be really digital and it would constantly flip with other advertising. So we certainly knew that would not come into Tiverton well.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Welcome to Vegas.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions of the board?
Do they have, I have one question. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, who had their hand up first?
Jay,
Jay?
go.
Go ahead, Jay.
So how much flexibility does your manufacturer of the sign have?
We
Well,
haven't nothing made yet, so it's just a proposal.
Okay,
Anyone
'cause
else?
I too think that this is a little bit flashy. You know, to go from what's there now to go to this is like, holy crap.
Unfortunately,
Okay.
those are our new brand colors. It's red. If we had bought another company that was
I'm
blue,
not-
I know red is sharp, but if we were the Dollar General, it was bright yellow, it would be the same problem.
It's not the coloring that so much, that I'm looking at, that's so much that I, just kind of big, to my liking anyways. Thank you.
Anyone else? George?
Do they have any like a traffic study or anything, how this is gonna affect the driver who's going by at night, looking at this bright light coming up from Fall River right to that, looking at that wall with that light? Do they have
No,
anything to, nothing?
No, we haven't done any traffic
Yeah,
study.
I think it's
If traffic studies done when the roundabout was designed. The company roundabout and paid for it.
My problem with this, Lisa, the fact is actually coming up and looking right at the light, that one sign as you're coming up from Fall River, you're looking right at it with this 8-foot high red light. This is literally what you're doing, driving up around that corner.
Ed? Ed, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it seems to me though, even though some people might think it's more Las Vegas, if it's gonna attract people to the casino and keep our taxes lower, I'm all for it. I don't see an issue with it at all.
Okay, Mike, is your hand up?
Mike Marcello, sorry, yeah. At the proper time, I just want to review the standard for the board that
Okay.
Mark.
Dave?
Well, in part, I am interested in that.
You're muted, Dave, I'm sorry.
We lost you.
You
You
muted
muted-
yes. You
Dave,
muted
say-
yourself.
There you go, David.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. The requirement is for 48 feet, which is the size of the current sign. It looks like you want a sign that's higher, which you can do right now. But the question is, why do you have to go beyond 48 feet, cubic square feet? Why not have a narrower or higher sign that meets the requirement rather than going to this big, much larger sign?
Because that sign is originally designed, was placed right on that stone wall. And that type of a low profile design was what was built into the original design. And it's found that it's not as effective, and a visual improvement, that's what we asked for. That's what the standard is, was to increase the size of that sign. It still meets the low profile requirements. It still meets the lighting requirements that we're restricted to. And we think it does result in a visual improvement, and that's what we strive for with the rebranding.
Okay, Mike, I'm curious, do these requirements supersede the standard special use permit requirements? Or is it?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So for the benefit of the board, there are actually 3 requirements for signage on a special use permit. One is that the establishment of the sign in a completely conforming manner will result in the significant damage to the associated business. So that's the first standard that must be met. In other words, they need to show that if they meet the 64 square feet, Mark, was that what you said?
48.
48, sorry, 48, so 48 square foot as it is now, they got to show that a conforming sign, which is 48 square feet, will result in significant damage to the associated business. So the first prong is that the establishment of the sign in a completely conforming manner will result in a significant damage to the associated business. That's the first standard. The second standard is that the establishment of a sign which is non-conforming by size will result in a clear visual improvement to a site by virtue of the replacement of an existing non-conforming sign. The third requirement is that the location of the sign on a site in a non-conforming manner is necessary to achieve its intended visual effect. So those are the three standards that are set forth in the ordinance. Does that answer your question, David? I'm sorry.
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Oh, let me, so this does in fact supersede the existing special use permit requirements.
Yeah, there's a special category for signs under your special use permit under the ordinance that I just read. Those are the requirements that I just read. Yeah.
For the overlay.
Yes.
Just only for the overlay.
Well, it's actually all signs. The overlay has its own sign requirements that, as Mr. Russo testified to, it has specific, you couldn't put a casino-like sign, like, you know, that's not permitted under the overlay with like a neon lights or anything like that, flashing sign. That could not be permitted anyway under the current zoning. But then the maximum size is set in the overlay, and then they say if you want to exceed that, then you've got to meet these extra requirements in the special use permit, which I just read to you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, George.
Do you have anywhere study prove anywhere you could tell me how many people got lost going into the casino going through that road and couldn't find the casino because the sign's already there?
We don't have a study like that. What
Okay,
they've been since they've been here is a model citizen. They've directed a lot of revenue to the town. This is a very simple proposal. The zoning official has said that these are typically approved. I mean, this is something that enhances the product and then enhances our partnership with the town by enhancing the product. It's something that will attract more visitors. It makes it easier. It makes a more dynamic entrance, and it stays within the intent of the casino gaming overlay. We would think it would be welcomed, and we would hope that it would, and that's why we're here.
just to follow up, I only down the street, as I said, I'm a gas station. People stop and ask for direction, and they never stop and ask where the casino is.
Okay.
Okay. Just following on Ed too.
Wendy, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I have plenty of comments, but they can wait for our session.
I just wanted to follow up with a question to Mike, our counsel. And this is basically a clarification of the answer that you gave to David. The three standards that you mentioned, the special ones that pertain to signage, those are the only considerations that we should be considering as opposed to the regular special use. I mean, is this cumulative? Or is
no, I believe it's, I mean, Mark, correct me if Mark and I may have a different opinion on that, but I believe it is cumulative of the other requirements of a general special use that's, you know, inclusive of a general special use permit as well. So the normal, you know, the public convenience welfare will be served, all those requirements, and then you add in these others. That's my opinion.
Mr. Russo, do you agree with that? That's the standard?
I'm not sure all those standards apply. That's why they have a special sign standard. Right. And I think when you're talking about size non-conformance, it's limited to the one finding that I indicated as to whether it provides visual improvement. But I mean, obviously the solicitor, it guides you, so I'm not gonna.
I'm not suggesting that all be applicable, Mark, but I think there's certainly guidance. And just to correct the record, I just want to make it clear. There's actually three standards, and the first one is that the establishment of the sign in completely conforming manner will result in a significant damage to the associated business. So I'm curious as to if you want to put on the record any evidence you have that if you were to establish these signs in conformity with the square footage that's set forth in the ordinance, how would that damage the existing, would result in significant damage to the existing business?
I think it's based on Kim's testimony with the rebranding. I mean, in
Okay.
this space, in the gaming and entertainment space, you're continually competing with Massachusetts. You're continually competing with the casinos, the Indian casinos in Connecticut. And you have to continue to deliver a dynamic and a product that the public views as continually improving and evolving. And this is part of it. If you don't continue to do that, and you don't continue to improve that property in these ways, you will be significantly damaged because your competition will overtake you. And that's why they continue to invest in that property. And again, that's part of our partnership with the town. I don't think the town expected us to come there and not continue to make these type of capital improvements.
Well, I mean, are you suggesting that people are going to be picking casinos based on what kind of sign they have?
Not just the sign, but the decor, the capital improvements. You're going to want to feel that you're going to a place that, I mean, right now, the rebranding hasn't begun. And you do have customers that come in and question, well, they don't know Bally's is the same ownership. When's Bally's taking over? What can we expect? I mean, they want to see those type of improvements to say, hey, look, we want to go here. They're keeping it new. They're keeping it fresh. That's the kind of industry that these folks are in.
I appreciate that. And I can see how that's true when you look at the facility itself and, what kind of, Monaco-like restaurants you have, or, nice casino kind of things. I think the establishment, the interior of the establishment and the games that are offered are what should be investing in. And I'm not suggesting the sign's not important, but the sign is a little big and it is a little gaudy. And I'm concerned about the fact that that size is rather distracting. I mean, I don't even have a problem with the sign design, but I do have a problem with the sign size.
I think comparatively to the ratio of the stone wall, it's really not big. That wall is really long. So if we just put a little small sign or vertical, it wouldn't do justice with the ratio of the stone wall.
Well, I beg to differ, but George, do you have a question?
I just want to give him we had another business in front of us. I'm not going to go into it, and we gave him a way out to fix their sign proposal. I'm going to go with Jay Jackson just said. Are you stuck to that size?
No, I've already put on record, we are not stuck to the size. We have not started building yet, but this is what the proposal is from the sign company.
So okay. So you want to go in this?
We would like, yes.
With this signs. Okay, I just want to
follow up on what Kim is saying. If the board wanted to suggest that we're willing to approve a special use permit, but limit the increase to X square feet. In other words, we're asking for 146 square feet. If the board were to say we'd be inclined to grant it, but limit it to 100 square feet, then we'll go back to the design table. I mean, we're willing to listen to that. We're not.
Well, I think that's where we're headed. I mean, that's a very dark area, and I think that any lighted sign is going to accomplish the goal of telling people that you're there, and that it's going to attract public attention. But I think that at 146 feet is overkill, and I really don't think it is compatible with our signage ordinance and our comprehensive plan. I mean, this is podunk. I mean, it really, and most people like podunk. So it's the area is sufficiently isolated from the rest of the town that I'm willing to grant you some relief, but I think that the size that you're proposing is excessive, and I don't think it is necessary for you to conduct your business and improve your business.
Well, as I presented, Chair, in my presentation, that sign face is 6 by 16, which would be 96 square feet. So if we could get 100 square feet, if the board would allow that, that would give us some leeway to go back to our designers and see if we can get the same effect, but with 46 less square feet. I mean, that's something that I think we could try to work with.
Well, I would be inclined to try to come to some type of compromise. I don't know how else the board feels. I mean, Does anybody think that this has got to be limited to 48 feet? I don't.
But can I ask a question, Lucy? Are we gonna sit here, me and you and the rest of the board, trying to decide what this sign will look like at 100 square foot? Or they should be come back to us and showing me design with that square footage and see if it's acceptable? For me to sit here and assume, oh, 100 square foot will look great, 96 square foot will look better. I don't have it in front of me on the paper. I want to see it.
Well, I don't think we're like the ethics. I mean, we're not the aesthetics police. You know,
Yeah.
we can't
Well,
tell them what to put on the sign. I mean, you know, if it's otherwise conforming to the sign ordinance. But I think we do have something to say about the size of it. And maybe I'm
Absolutely.
wrong in assuming that if we say, you know, you got to reduce this by 1/3, that it's going to be the same sign, but smaller. Am I wrong? I mean,
That is correct.
all right.
Do you want to take public testimony if you're done asking questions amongst the board?
Okay. Is everybody done? I guess so. I guess not. Is there any member of the public that's present that wants to ask any questions of these witnesses?
Or speak for or against the application?
I guess nobody's home.
No, we
Everybody's
have-
sleeping
we have
podunk.
we have one person.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Yes? Miss Belanger? Mr. Okay. What would you like to say?
Well, let's swear him in, please. Swear him in.
Well, is he commenting or is he asking questions?
I'm just commenting. I'm part of the public commenting like I've had many times in the past.
Okay, that's fine.
Could I please have the speaker identify themselves for the
Yes.
record?
Roger Stephen Belanger, 125 Stafford Road, Tiverton. You all set?
Yes.
Okay, good. I understand the need to modify the signs to reflect the new ownership of this facility. I do not see any need to change the type of sign that is existing currently. It really is not going to affect the number of people. People know where this casino is. George, I don't know your last name. I'd call you Mr., but I'm just going to go by George right now. It's absolutely correct that, you know, people that come to the area, they know where the casino is. And you know something, if they go around the rotary once, they're not going to be the first ones, because people go around that rotary several times a day because they don't know how rotaries work. So if they got to turn around and go back into the casino, they will. They're not missing anything. Okay, so they know the casino is there. A sign is not going to change that. I have very, very big concerns about the lighting and the distraction to this thing. This rotary is a danger to the local citizens as it is to the neighborhood. It's a nightmare caused by people coming in from Stafford Road, shooting across because they got to go into the casino and just ignore everything that's going on with the rest of the traffic. It's a nightmare to begin with the rotary. So adding another distraction of signs that people don't necessarily need to be paying attention to, but their eyes are attracted to it, is going to just cause more problems. The proposed sign is not in character with anything else in the town, which was promised to us that the signs were going to be very, very similar to what we have for other types of property, like the Fort Bartons and the other the Foglands and that type of signage. When this thing all went down, another promise that was broken. But anyways, the sign that is current does have the lighting is there, the lettering is there, and I believe it does have some backlighting. So you can see behind the lettering, you can see it, and it's dimly lit, and you can easily see it when you're pulling up. If you're looking for it, if you're the person that's going to be going into the casino, you'll find it. You don't need a big flashy 150 square foot sign, 3 times of what it is right now. It triples the size, area wise, to distract more people coming into the area. I just find that ridiculous. The lighting is just, again, not necessarily to distract people. We can't have that. Just trying to look at my notes here, so bear with me a second. The lighting was, yeah. So it's just the sign that it proposes out of character. out of character with the neighborhood. And I know, you know, the comment was made that it's tucked away in a corner of the town that maybe nobody sees, but you know something, there are people here. And I've heard that argument the last time that this went down, that nobody cares about this side of Tiverton. Well, guess what? I'm still here, I care. Okay, and there's a lot of other people in this neighborhood that care about what goes on in this little corner of town. And it's the first thing that people see when they come into town. Bad enough we can't even get the rotary fixed that it was promised it was going to be upkept, the property, the stone wall. It was crashed into months ago. The stones are still sitting there in a pile. Nobody's taking care of them. That was going to be upkept, another lie. So you've got my feelings. I appreciate it. I hope the zoning board will take that into consideration and do the right thing and keep this thing minimal, keep it in tune with what's going on in the rest of the signage of the rest of the town and not cause any more headaches for people going around the Rotary. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any more input from the public or from our board members? Anything you want to say in summary, Mr. Russo?
Yes, Chair.
You turned us off.
Oh, can you hear me now? I don't think I turned it off.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. No, just in response to Mr. Belanger's comments about the, I guess, something to do with a repair to the Rotary. I just want to make sure everyone understands that that's a RIDOT Rotary. That's a roundabout. That's not our responsibility. So that's a state of Rhode Island maintenance issue. We can certainly check on it and see if they're aware of it, but that's not something that we do.
Okay. Okay, last call. Anybody want to say anything else? Okay.
Oh, hold on. I think Mr. Belanger still has his hands up. I don't know if it's.
I don't see him. Oh, Mr. Belanger, did you want to speak again?
Just one comment. This package of this casino was sold to us lock, stock, and barrel with the Rotary, because the state would not give us this Rotary unless we sold out the town for a casino. Okay, so we got this thing lock, stock, and barrel. So I don't care whose responsibility for it, but it looks like a nightmare when you're driving up here. And the only reason we got that bloody Rotary is because of the casino, and now we're stuck with it, and we're stuck with that eyesore coming up the road. So try to you know, step away from responsibility. Fine, all you want. Somebody needs to fix it. Thank you.
Okay.
That's a question, Lisa.
George, yes.
Does Mike have to announce also that people that want to call in, or that's not necessary?
Oh, I can do that. Hold on. I should do that. Good point. So it's also on the agenda, but if you're not on Zoom and you want to call in, if you're watching this through a webinar, the call-in number is 1-877-853-5247. The webinar number is 823-5367-5870 with the passcode, if it's necessary, of 654523. Just give them a few seconds, Lisa. Doesn't look like anyone else is calling in, Lucy, so you can close the public hearing and deliberate if you want.
We're going to close the public hearing at this point, so no further input can be provided either by the applicant or the public. And we're going to begin our deliberations now. Whoever wants to go first, raise your hand. George?
Happy to go first.
Go ahead.
I stated with the questions, I'm all down the street, as you know. I drive to that Rotary tons of times a day and at night to have these two massive signs. And the fact is, it is dark in that Rotary, and you coming up from Road, looking at that big red sign is a problem. Two, if you live anywhere right across the street, which is a plenty of homes across the street, and looking all night at these two lights lit up, I'm sorry, I don't, and to find it that this is how people gonna find that casino, it is laughable. The fact is, no one, look, even put what, we're gonna come to Tiverton and say, oh, this is a casino. Everybody Googles it, everybody on their phone, everybody finds it. No one ever came to the station and said to me, hey, gee, how do I find that casino? I didn't see their sign. Everybody knows where they're going when they come to the casino, from the Bedford Downs, doesn't matter where they're coming, they already know where the casino is. I honestly, they want to call it Las Vegas style, not Las Vegas style. This is as close as you get to Las Vegas styles. I am totally against these signs, 100%.
Okay. Jay, where are you on this?
At least I'm with you. I want to see a reduction. That's why I asked if there were concrete on the sign, and it's not the case. I'd like to see that reduced, the number of down to 100 square feet from 146 has been thrown about. I think that's a reasonable compromise.
Okay. Dave?
I note that without this overlay ordinance, they wouldn't be able to put up the sign they currently have. And the town created this overlay after negotiating with the casino people, and everybody decided that a 48 square foot sign would be adequate. And now they want to come back and make it even larger. I don't see any evidence that justifies increasing the size of the sign, but I could go along with increasing it somewhat, but it's increasing it 3 times seems a little bit extreme. So I'm listening to the rest of the group now.
Okay. Wendy, would you like to speak?
Yes, I find myself once again in agreement with George. I'm absolutely.
This is a first.
I can count it on one hand in all these years. I'm absolutely against these signs for a number of reasons. Some of the information that Mike read to us is important. I don't think that there were any studies done. There certainly weren't any studies provided to us that would indicate that the current signs are causing the casino damage as they are. There have been no studies provided that indicate that the new signs will in fact enhance business. And as George mentioned, it's obvious that everyone knows where the casino is. Everybody has GPS. Mr. Belanger made a lot of really nice points as well. I don't think neon signage is the right place for that in that area of town. It's otherwise too quiet of a town. The people who planned out everything, all aspects of the casino, spent years planning, and they agreed to these particular signs and the square footage and the height, etc. And just a few years later, all of a sudden they're not good enough. And I understand that Bally's now owns it, but they say they're trying to stay within the spirit. And that was a quote. And I have to disagree. Going from these bronze and gold, good-looking signs to these really obnoxious neon lit Bally signs.
It's not neon, it's just red letters.
It looks so much brighter than. So I have to agree with George. I think it does look Las Vegas. It does not look Tiverton, Rhode Island. And there are towns around this area that have been presented with business opportunities like a McDonald's or a Dunkin' Donuts moving in. And yeah, they have their colors and their patterns and their logos, and the towns have told them, and I'm thinking of Bristol in particular, they have no hesitation in saying, yes, you can move in, but you're going to abide by everything that we need you to abide by. And if your facade needs to look a certain way, we don't care what your brand looks like. We don't care if it's bright yellow or bright orange or bright purple. You're going to blend in with our town and what we're looking for. I think that the fact that the casino keeps referring to the design company, and it was the design company that did this, it's a little disappointing that there's not a backup plan, or we're not being presented with different options, but we're being presented with one option and they're only willing to back off because they realize that these signs might be too big and just too much for this town. No one is driving around Tiverton looking for something to do, and they decide to go to the casino at that moment in time solely based on these brand new, large, oversized signs. I mean, that's not what's going to make people go in. Everyone has called it a convenience casino or a destination casino. People already know it's there. They're claiming to be a good neighbor, and I just don't think trying to triple the size of signs and make them really bright and really red is the way to go. So, I mean, I have more things that I could point to, but I'm going to stop there and say I'm just in absolute objection and opposition to these 3 times the size Bally's signs that are well beyond what was agreed to years ago when the casino first came along.
Well, here are my thoughts. I look at the standards that are set out in various statutes relative to signage and the business overlay. And, I think that, the things that we need to consider, we want to promote the general business interests of our community by maintaining the, quote, visual quality of the town. Well, I'm not so sure that these signs are enhancing the visual quality of the town. They're not enhancing, I don't think, the value of any commercial building. I think that the area is already identified by the signs that exist. I'm concerned about the distraction factor of big lighted red signs. And I don't think that these signs are consistent or compatible with the comprehensive plan. I'm concerned about the nuisance value to people driving around the road and being distracted by the sign. I also, looking at the 3 specific special use criteria that deals specifically with signage. The burden here, I think, is on the applicant to establish that the sign that's presently there will result in significant damage to Bally's. And I don't see any evidence of that in this record at all. We can speculate, but I really don't think that having a big red sign is going to increase the draw of the Tiverton Casino. Maybe I'm being naive, but I don't think people decide what casino they're going to go to based on the signage outside. I don't think it'll be a clear visual improvement in the area by adding this sign. And I don't think it's necessary. I mean, I would be willing to compromise on the size of the sign, but I think that the sign that's there now is perfectly adequate, tasteful, low impact. And I have listened to everybody else's view on this. And, I could be persuaded, but quite frankly, I don't think it's necessary, warranted, or otherwise detracts from the potential success of this business. So those are my feelings. Anybody want to add anything to their thoughts or make a motion?
I don't want to make, but can I add one more thing? I don't think we are, as I said earlier, in the business of telling them what signs and whatever. There's somebody that said with them years ago and agreed to what's there. They could change it to red. They could make the light red to light up those signs that exist. If Bally's signs as red, they could change what exists there already, take the gold writing and make it red, but this is where it ends. It's not our job to tell them make it smaller, bigger, whatever. Either approve this application or stand or just deny it. That's my opinion.
Well, clearly we have a split of opinion.
David, go ahead, make the motion. What do you think? I make a motion to deny the application as stand based on what was proposed and the sign regulation was given to this casino a few years earlier. I might not be spelling everything correctly the way Mike could correct me, but it was already agreed, overlaid, and approved to what exists for signs right now. So I make a motion to deny this application.
I second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor? Roll call.
Aye for
George?
me.
Wendy?
Aye.
I'm joining them. Anybody else? Dave?
I agree. I'm joining.
Okay, Jay?
Leave me out.
You would like to, you disagree?
I disagree. Yeah,
Okay,
That's a no then, Jay, right?
that is a no. That is correct.
All right,
okay.
just want to make sure, guys. This is yes or no. This is not agreeing. You know, let's be, we have to make the record clear. It's either a yes or a no.
Okay.
No,
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Jay.
Okay, I think it's 4-1 and your petition is denied, but thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks, Mark.
We'll be back.
We'll be here.
Can I take a quick break? Because I don't know
Yeah,
how
of
much
course.
more is left, but I'm exhausted. Can I just
Sure,
take a,
take your time.
what is left?
We have a another matter that's on the appeals calendar, and then we have some administrative stuff to talk about.
Yeah, just take a 5-minute break. That'd be great. Thanks.
Fine. We'll be in recess for 5 minutes.
Hello.
So I just want to make sure.
All right, Lisa, I'm ready again. Everyone's ready.
Okay.
Lisa, Mr. Stoltzman has his hands up, so I know he's on the appeals docket, but I don't know if
Yeah,
you
I
want
was
to
just about to, make the announcement. Is everybody, were we all set?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm all set.
Okay, I'm going to temporarily leave our administrative matters in connection with the zoning board of review and open the board sitting as an appeals board at this time. And there is a zoning appeal. There's one matter in front of us today. A petition has been filed by Rosalind Weir, Post Office 98, Adamsville, pursuant to Article 15, Section 3A, for the appeal of Tiverton Four Corners, LLC, 28 East Road, Plat 706, Lot 111, R80 zone, from a decision in violation notice of the building official, zoning official, dated September 27th, 2021, relating to the holding of weddings at the site in violation of zoning and the construction of a tent without a proper permit. And is there someone here on behalf of the petitioner?
It's Rob Stoltzman.
Is he here?
Yeah, I think he's in. Yeah, go. Mr. Stoltzman, you got to unmute yourself. There you go.
Yes, thank you. It reconnected me. Thank you. And if you can also promote, we have Ms. Weir should be in the queue, and a woman, Alyssa Wood, who runs the wedding venues. And a third person would be Kyle Lynch from my office. He's assisting with any presentation we may have.
Well, with all respect to everyone present, especially you, Rob, who had the courtesy to put on a tie, we are not going to hear this matter tonight. The record should reflect that yesterday our zoning office was in receipt of a filing that was over 200 pages in length. And under our rules of procedure and our established custom, the submission of exhibits and documents are required 10 days before a hearing. You can't possibly have expected us to have read that, to have handled the other matters, and to give our town solicitor an opportunity to rebut it. So you have a right to be heard in a meaningful way. And the delay is caused by the size of your filing and the fact that our rules were violated, because obviously you want to use the documents that you've included as part of your appeal. This isn't a simple case, and there were many members of the board who were not present during the contested times here in 2014. And the people who were not on the board at that time need to familiarize themselves with the history of this travel of the case. The town has a right to be heard also, as you do, and has a right to be prepared in its response to your filing. I want to set a date for this hearing that gives everybody the opportunity to say what they want to say, to educate the board so we can make an informed decision. And how much time, Mr. Marcello, do you need? I don't know if you've even had an opportunity to read Mr. Stoltzman's filing.
I did not.
Okay. Do you have any idea how long it's going to take you to respond to it?
Well, I don't know if I respond, but I think, I'm going to need some time. So I don't know if I would just set it down for the next meeting in April. I think that should be fine.
Okay. Well, I'd like to express to both our councils and to Mr. Stoltzman that it would be really helpful if you guys could pre-mark exhibits that you agree on, so we know what's going into the record beforehand by agreement. And if there's any stipulated set of facts that you can agree upon, that's helpful to the board. I think it would be helpful to, there are a lot of documents in this case. We should be organized. Hopefully we'll be doing this in open session, so it can be a little less broken up as this hearing is on Zoom. So is everyone available for April 6th? Mr. Stoltzman?
Yeah, well, yes, Madam Chair, I would, if I may just point out that, yes, there are a lot of pages to the documents, but probably 90% of those are matters that are already in the file on this case. Some, they're not necessarily on this appeal, and I understand the board's desire to review them. I was just trying to elaborate on the paperwork that has been filed and utilized with respect to this site since that time.
I think it would be more helpful for everyone to read those documents in advance of your
I
presentation.
understand. I'm not arguing with you on that. I just want to point out that it's not like there's hundreds of pages of difficult to digest legal argument. They're mostly copies of building permits and those types of things that are in the record. I'm just pointing that out. It was not expected that it would be difficult to absorb it. And so maybe, is it possible, because of the urgency of time, since prior to the issuance of the notice of violation, Ms. Wood had scheduled weddings for this summer. And so those people need to be notified if they're not going to be able to proceed. Is it possible to do this prior to the next meeting? That's all. That's the background for that request. I don't think it'll take long to review these documents, and most of them are public records, so there's not going to be argument over submission of them.
Most of the people that are on this board are employed in other jobs, and
understood. Just a request. Yeah,
we're not compensated for our time. We need to do this, and people schedule times to prepare, and
I appreciate that.
Everybody has to pay attention to the rules, that are required to get things in front of this board. And I'm not, I'm not being a hard ass, but to drop a document of that size on us yesterday and expect us to tee it up because because you waited until the last minute to file it. I'm sorry, I'm not sympathetic.
It's not clear to me that that's a requirement to prepare for a hearing, but if you say
you're going to introduce documents into evidence, we have 10 days under our rules.
Yeah, that wasn't clear to me. I apologize if I misunderstood your rules. I'll try to find that.
They're published. They're on our website, so it's not like we're playing hide the button. So April 6th, is that agreeable with everyone? Dave?
Yep.
Yes. Mike? You'll have your paperwork in by then, if you're going to submit any?
Yeah, well, I'll talk to Mr. Stoltzman before then as well.
Okay. Ed, are you available on April 6th?
He's on mute.
He's on mute. That's all right.
That's our regular meeting date. So
that's our regular meeting date. Okay. So Wendy, is that good for you?
It is.
Okay. Well, in light of that, we will continue this matter to April 6th. And I encourage council to see if we can agree on exhibits and get them submitted, so people aren't spending their time going down rabbit holes before the hearing. Okay, we're going back to our zoning board of review meeting, and there are a number of administrative matters that we need to discuss. First of all, we need to approve the minutes from July, September, November, and December. And has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes? I was absent for one of them, and I think it was October. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for the 4 months that it needed to be approved.
Second? Anybody?
Ed
Okay, Ed seconds it. All those in favor? Roll call. George?
Yes.
Lisi, yes. Dave?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Obviously. Okay, and so we're all set.
Can we please clarify which ones were just being discussed?
Did we do all of them, or did we do just one? I'm sorry.
We did all of them.
Okay.
All 4 months.
So July, September, November, and December?
Yeah.
July, September, November, and December. Okay.
Sorry,
So-
Tara.
The January never got approved, just so everybody knows.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I couldn't hear you. You were
Sorry.
breaking.
The ones that were done in January, the board should have them, and they are not on this agenda, but those to be approved.
Okay, we'll put it on next month's agenda. All right. The last thing we've got is a discussion of the amended rules and some revisions to the applications that we have. And I can go through them with you. I mean, basically, they're restating a lot of the rules that we had. There are some minor changes, and the changes have to do with requiring the applicants to file things, file their application under oath, and requiring entries of appearances to be filed by lawyers that certify that they are familiar with our rules of procedure and, you know, continuance requests, et cetera, because, you know, I share everybody's frustration that we got matters put on our docket that are not intended by the parties to be heard, but nobody has the courtesy to call us and let us know about that. And, you know, also we're training our administrative assistant how to schedule cases for hearing. And, you know, unfortunately this month, you know, we had a matter that was scheduled in error because a site plan wasn't prepared. And I'm really sensitive to the fact that, you know, everybody on this board tries to do the best they can do. And you schedule time to review the application so you're prepared for them. And it's incredibly frustrating to go to a meeting and realize that it's not going to happen. And you got to read the stuff again and again and again. And, you know, I don't think that's fair to you. And I don't think it's unfair to expect lawyers to be aware of our procedural rules and take it seriously. I mean, I feel like Rodney Dangerfield, like we don't get no respect. But so.
Can I add something to that, Lisi?
Yeah.
And you covered it very well. I really take exception to the last month's meeting. I really did. And I hope with the last month's meeting with the withdrawal within the hour, I take exception to it. I hope it never happen again by whoever decided to allow these people to withdraw without coming to the meeting after we already set the meeting that we were supposed to be there. I don't care what their excuses are or what the reason. They come to the meeting and we decide if they could withdraw or extend it or not. We already set time for that meeting. They'll show up, not an hour before.
Which one are you talking about?
The one just happened last month, the bank.
Oh, we didn't have a meeting last month, did we? Yeah.
We canceled it because of it.
Well,
an hour before the meeting.
Yeah. Well, I agree. We have to give these people due process. They have a right to be heard, but they also have to, you know, if they decide not to show up to press an objection that they made in November, you know, that's not going to change the way I feel about whether we're going forward or not. I mean, we should be in charge. In control of our own docket, and that's what I want to do.
Thank you.
Let's see. I want to put in something that makes it automatic that all applicants who submit documents less than 10 days before the hearing will have their matters continued to the following month. You know, none of this bullshit of showing up and saying, oh, it's, you know, we're going to give you 100 pages and, you know, expect us to go forward. We're not doing anybody any favors. We have to be fair and impartial and give both sides the opportunity to be heard and get things that we've read before making decisions. So that's one of the things we've suggested. I'm happy to retype these. I mean, these are really a work in progress. And I know no one feels like talking about it at 10 o'clock at night, but.
Should we reject it when they come in 2 days, like 10 days before, like they come in 9 days, she should be able to say to them, either the application goes as is, or we reject this. Like in a way, should we have the right to reject?
No, I mean, I think, you know, it should never have been scheduled because the document that's required in our application wasn't submitted, but she didn't know that. She saw a diagram. She didn't understand that it needed to be stamped. And you know, I think Priscilla's been put in an impossible position. No one's trained her. And
I agree.
You know, and she's really trying, and she gets very upset when she loses control of things, as we all do. So, you know, I'm trying to train her, and Mike has been wonderful in making himself available to her as well.
She spoke highly both of you for helping her. So
yeah, I mean, you know, it's hard. I mean, I couldn't do her job either. I mean, you know, with all this notice and recording and everything else. I mean, you know, you just can't step into a job like that and think you know what you're doing. So that's one, another thing. So it shouldn't have been on the agenda. So it was. Hopefully we'll learn from it and it won't happen again. The other thing I wanted to add is relative to continuances. And I am, I think that if a party wants to make a request for a continuance for the first time, they should be able to do it, but they should let us know sufficient time in advance that they're requesting a hearing. And I would grant that automatically without having them show up and pay a lawyer to show up to ask for continuance. On the other hand, if it's this, showing up at the last minute and saying, I want to continue. If there's a good reason for a continuance, if your witness is sick, if you're sick, if, someone's been hit by a truck and can't come, those are individual, continuances that we should, consider and, be, humane about whether we grant them or not. But, the showing up at the last minute and asking for a continuance is not fair. And I think that automatically the first one should be a freebie. They can get it. And otherwise they have to come in front of the board.
Agree.
There is a rule that once the hearing begins, a petitioner cannot withdraw it without prejudice. That is our rule. And that's currently on the books. Do we want to keep that rule? Do we want to change the rule? That's something that I throw out there.
Why would change it though? What would the benefit?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the way it's written, it's fine with me. I mean, it worked tonight, but I think that's come up in our meetings from time to time. And I think we all should agree on whether we want that or not. Do we want to change our hearings times to cut it off at 10 o'clock rather than 10:30? Does anybody have any feelings about that? I mean, I am not a night person. I usually go to bed after Jeopardy. So 10:30 is pushing it. I mean, and there's a provision in our rules that says if we all unanimously agree on continuing after that time, then we'll go later. But I mean, I know people have to get up the next day and go to work. So how do you guys
Everybody.
feel?
I always thought it was 10 o'clock. Dave, do you
No, it's
remember?
10:30. It's 10:30 in the rules. So
Originally we started at 7:30 and we went to 11.
Right.
And then we switched our start time to 7 o'clock. So they just moved the end time back a half an hour.
Yeah. Do we want to have the cutoff at 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock's fine by me.
10 o'clock makes sense. You go brain dead after a while.
Can I ask a question? Can we
Yeah.
still put it in there? And if we have somebody in front of us and we're still talking at 10 o'clock, we should have the right.
If we all agree to keep going,
Okay.
we all keep going.
Okay.
So I'll change that. Mike and Julie and I worked on these. We had a number of meetings on them, and Julie did a tremendous job, and she was great, but she put them in a place where Priscilla couldn't find them, and so I'm dealing with notes that were my notes, and so I'd like to retype these and send them out to you and see if you agree to the changes once they're written.
Okay.
Is there some way that you can highlight the changes?
I wish I knew how to do that. I don't know how to do that. I mean, I'm willing to type it on my own time. I just don't know.
I'm just thinking maybe if you just did it in pencil and then scanned it for Priscilla, and then she could send out the scanned copy.
Just put the changes
Or
in
I can try
put
to
the
annotate.
changes in parentheses and saying these are the changes.
I'll try to annotate them and put something that was there before, what was there before. I mean,
Okay.
I tried to go through this. Oh, we're also going to delete postcard notice and which we never did anyway. And
Do you want to constantly refer to the chair as his or his, or do you
We'll
want
work
it
on
to
that
be
too.
the chair?
we'll work on that too. So why don't I try to redo these, and I'll try to note what the changes were. I reformatted a lot of them too.
Do like a fixer upper before and after, you know. fix
Yeah,
the before and after.
I don't know how to do that. I mean, I know people have that red line or, underline thing. I don't know how to do that. We changed some of the forms. And we asked for more information, like a prior history, if this was already before us, so we know what the background is. We have the entry of appearance that we never had before, and required them to submit them under oath. So those were the changes, but I'm happy to circulate another draft of these so we can read them and see where we're going. But the problems that we faced tonight, we need to have rules that are enforceable, and people have, these lawyers have to be accountable for, following.
These lawyers.
Anybody have any feedback here? They go away, go to bed, leave it alone.
Well, I think we do need to have a draft.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yeah, good. But I really want to get these, I want to get them done. And, I want to publicize the changes, get them on the Secretary of State website. So people come in front of us and, give us the tools for us to do our jobs. It's not a lot to ask.
I will say by next meeting probably should be the draft deadline. You send us the draft, we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
what are they
I'll
gonna
work
say.
on it.
We've been talking about these.
I'll
for
work on
so
it the
long.
next time it rains.
Yeah, all right.
But, all right.
All right, make a motion to close the meeting.
No, you can make the motion, George. You got a big
I
mouth.
did. I did.
Okay.
I make a motion to close end the meeting.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
All
Do
of
we need a roll call for this one?
No,
Okay.
unless there's objection.